Hello to one and all, my name is Ghostman number 1 and here we are back in Kerbal Space Program episode 6. Now, this has not gone to plan. I've actually pre-recorded this and now I'm doing a voiceover because my roommate is sick and at home and I have to do this afterwards because I haven't got time to record continuously. Right, so we're back here on the islands. The guys are inspecting the airfield. These components over here, they are thinking they can do something with these components later on. They have some ideas for some designs. Although, the engineer looks like he wants to climb. Okay, that's not what they're designed for. And it's mostly the engines we're actually interested in, engineer. Have a look. Okay, the one on the left, or the right now, is basically, it looks like an LT45, the normal engine we use, but this other engine is unusual, and now we're back to the plane, and we're flicking around. What is going on? We're now up in the air control tower. Now, the pilot is wondering, when did this airfield get built? On this planet, she thought the KSP was the only thing around, and now she's at the top of here, wondering what's going on. Now they're going to stay here and continue to ponder. They're trying to work out, could there possibly be a new career in archaeology? Now, as you remember from the last episode, we did some drop pods, but then afterwards I went round and I did some more drop pods using a modified dropship. But what we're going to do in a second is we're going to go to those in a second and we're going to go and grab the science. But first of all, let's rename this pod, which then I find out I already did rename. Like so. And now we're just going to change the symbol so it doesn't come up as a probe, because obviously a probe is in space. So we're going to put it on a rover. Eventually. See, this is the problem, is trying to time everything right with the actual video now. So now we're going to go and jump over to the next craft. There it is, and we'll speed this up because all we're doing is we're having quite a lot of science. Looks like the probe is sliding down the hill, but it looks pretty fun. And obviously I did a time... I did some time speedy up bits in between because obviously I needed to control. And on the mountain we managed to park this under a tree, which was pretty impressive. But what I had to do when I was flying as well is I had to stay close enough to the drop pod so it continued to stay loaded in until it touched the ground. And then once it touched the ground it was fine. But in the mid-air, if I flew off, the probe would have gone. Now we're into the desert. It's quite grassy, the desert, the ground, isn't it? And we've got some cactus in the background. And as we see, we're continuing to wait. And this is the modified Global Explorer. As you can see, I've added a couple of additional drop pods off. And it didn't expect the experience. And we flew all the way to the desert. Now, this is where I started thinking, perhaps I should do like these mini episodes. Because without doing some talking, we could fly there and just do it to like some time-lapse music. And there it is. It's pretty pretty. I like that craft. And eventually we'll leave and we'll go straight into the science. So as you see, we've got 401 science, so we need some more powerful engines because this episode is a cracker. And some fuel. And then we're going to have the lander can, very important. Well, we don't really need the RSE thrusters. And obviously, I have a plan for these wheels. I do indeed. Because what I want to do the next time we're in this window, I want to unlock all the remaining and I want to unlock the whole next tier. And we got these 2 contracts left over to explore the moon and plant a flag on the moon. So, I gather you know where we're going to be going. Plus, also the screenshot or the thumbnail for the video would have shown it, and the title. But here we are. I believe this is the Aether? I think it's the Aether. It's named after the Greek goddess of Aether. And if I'm butchering that name, I do apologize. And she's the god of the sky and everything like that. We have to have a lot of power here because we only got those little engines. But hopefully when we come back, we will be able to have some more powerful engines. But as you can see on the bottom of here, I have stuck a rover. I put it as a controlled rover because I want to send a scientist to different biomes whilst we're on the moon to get as much science as humanly possible. Because... whoa. Hang on, I didn't attach that back right. Go back, Ghost Man. Eventually I will realise. There we go. I realised. There we go. Back to normal. Because we've got these as liquid engines in the middle as well to give it the additional thrust. Took quite a lot of bit of working out. I was thinking I might try and return some of those rocket parts, but I figured 139,000, we have more than enough money to actually do it, but we don't have the capacity at the pads. So guess what we're going to have to go and invest in? That's it. 282,000 credits. Yeah, small change. Not a lot of change involved there. That's fine. So now let us go back in and we are going to load it up. Now, I'm not going to send our regular 4. The regular 4 are going to stay here because there's a bigger mission they're planning for. But there's a lot of things we have to do in between that mission. So now it's trying to pick out of our remaining pilots who we're going to send. So we'll get rid of Jeb. And who we're going to have. Alright, we're going to have Trini Kerbal. I tell you, I'm terrible at pronouncing names and words and English in general. And yes, let's go for Tanliana. Yes, so we're going to send 2 female Kerbonauts. So let us go. And we're going to speed this up because you don't really need to see it. And especially considering, I just noticed as I'm turning over, the wheels are moving. Lol, comical. But as you can see, my trajectories are never that great. So that's why I always plan to have additional delta velocity to actually get us up instead. But it doesn't look like an ugly craft. I don't think it would be this stable if it was to happen in real life because of the weight of those fuel canisters on the side and everything. I'm sure those tiny struts would not be able enough to force those open. But as we go up, we're just going to try and get ourselves into a nice stable orbit. Obviously what we gotta do is, before we obtain our orbit, is we will be dumping those rockets and then using the last stage just to boost us a little further. So as we go along, it's not a bad orbit, I must admit. I didn't do too badly. And there we go, beautiful. And now let's turn around and have a look at those. There we go. Looks beautiful like that, doesn't it? Looks like a certain symbol. Alright, so as we go along, we are now going to go into the map mode. Or did I go into the map mode? I cannot remember. I'm just continuing to look backwards. Okay. Oh, I wonder what this yellow dot is over in the ocean. But what we got to start thinking about, Ghostman, if you can hurry this up a little bit. We've had enough of looking at this. There we go. We've gone to the map. I've already done the trajectory. I should really know this, considering I've already edited this video. But here we are. We are now about to start our burn in 1 minute and 13 seconds. We're probably going to do a little test burn in a second because 2 minutes and 9 doesn't make sense. So, yep, we'll do a little test burn. As you can see, yep, nowhere near that 2 minute and 9. So we are going to get this all nice and sorted again. And as we count down, we will start the burn in a second. But I still love Scatter. It's good actually doing it this way because I'm not actually having to think about the craft or anything like that. The craft is actually doing it for me. So that is a good thing. Let's see, there we go. We are now starting a burn. This should have more than enough delta velocity to do what we need to do around the MUN. Still get the moon and the MUN confused. But again, we're doing this beautifully. And as I said, that little rover under there is going to be so helpful. As I said, when we come back, I want to unlock the whole of the next tier as well. Because we still have one of the moons to explore actually around Kerbal. We got Minmus. I think it is. It's like a desert planet or something. But I want to try and set up some satellite networks around that one. Because I want to try and make sure the rovers and all stay in communication with Kerbal. That's why we really need to unlock the next node set of science, because there's an antenna or relay station there. And there we go, we're getting up there. We'll go and focus on the moon. The MUN again, I'm doing it again. Here we are, going up. We should start seeing it spike in a second through the MUN. There it is. So now we're just slowly. I've only just realised it's better to focus on the planet because you can fine-tune it a lot easier than doing how I normally do from the actual map from Kerbal. So this is very handy to do this. As you can see, you're getting this into a nice low trajectory around the MUN. Perfect. That's good enough for me. Anything above 10,000 apparently is good for the MUN. And then what we're going to have to do when we get to the MUN is we're going to have to do a deorbit? No. Retrograde burn to actually then slow us down enough so we're captured by the MUN. So, oh, pretty, hey? There's that rover. Looking good. We've got some science on the side. We've got all the science we need on there. Because while I was working out, if I find the piece of paper I wrote this down on, because obviously I do some test runs beforehand, with the amount of experiments I have on board, per biome, I can do 392's worth of science per biome. And if I do 5.9 biomes, I should have enough science to unlock all of the nodes for the next tech grade. And I think in a second, I am going to speed this up in a second, because I am very bad at EVAs, especially when I get the angle wrong. At the moment, it looks like a hummingbird. And it's interesting how he's grabbing the experiments with his head. There we go. Still beautiful. It's the first time I used lights as well, I believe, on a craft. I went for the green lights, but everything looks nice and they both look very, very smiley and happy. And as I said, what I'm going to do is that rover between episodes is going to go to different biomes. And obviously I'm taking a screenshot at this point because that is quite a beautiful shot. And now we're just getting ready to do our orbit burn. So we are pointing it retrograde to slow ourselves down. Shouldn't take a lot, as you can see from our indicator next to the nav ball. Again, both of them are ecstatic to be here, and so they should. Hasn't taken us very long to get up here. It's only taken us about 9 hours, because obviously a day on Kerbal is 6 hours. And as you probably already guessed, well, because I'm already recording my voice postly. Postly? Is that even a word? Well, doing a voiceover, and there goes our retro burn. I've already done most of the exploring on the MUN with the biomes. I haven't gone to all of them, and I don't think I will, because the amount of biomes I did visit, it took a long time. We are talking quite a few hours. Luckily, I can weigh down the finger and watch something else on the other screen. But there were problems. I had to save regularly because the rover, you may see it in a half episode video. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, that's another beautiful shot there. You can even see Kerbal coming around. Look at that. Truly spectacular. Okay, Ghostman. Yep. Fiddling around trying to get the nice angle. Still fiddling around. So we're not too long away from... So we've done our retro burn, so we're now in orbit around the MUN. Now, one thing we will have to start doing shortly is we will have to get out of the lander can, and we will have to be doing some EVA reports, because obviously we're going over different biomes. And that green line, that bright green line, is to say we got connection to Kerbal. Now, in the top left there, you will see a biome map from... the Wikipedia for Kerbal, and we're going to ignore the majority of the map because what we want to do, the only reason why I'm using the map is obviously most biomes on the near side of the moon and the MUN, because both of them are tidally locked, we can see from telescopes what sort of biomes is. So the back of the map back of the MUN we can't see, but the front of the MUN we can. And obviously when these guys are whipping around, they can have a look at those different sides. But yes, so I'm using this to actually give us a helping hand to decide where best to put our lander craft to try and get it to the closest to multiple biomes. Now, I'm setting up a trajectory here, and I don't realise until later on this is the wrong side to burn on, because I'm going the opposite way to what I'm thinking here. I am landing roughly between where I wanted to, but as you can see on this other side, I've got them replanned it, but I didn't leave enough time. I forgot about it. So as you can see, we lost signal now with Kerbal, which is in that top left-hand corner. You see, but luckily we got a pilot on board, so the pilot is doing the control of this. So in a second we're going to do our burn, and we're going to land it basically between two craters. Eventually. I don't know why I've left so much of a gap here. Hopefully we will jump, or is it just to try and say I continue to get some more data from doing EVAs? Yes, it is. By the looks of things, I've got a bit of phlegm in my throat, so I possibly might now be going ill. Obviously, Watch Dogs should hopefully happen this week as well. It's quite fun, actually. I'm having a lot of fun with that, and it's a very beautiful game as well. So again, we just did a pre-check burn on our engines, just to see how long it would take. And there we go. Again, still got plenty of Delta V. What I might do with the that much Delta V, depending on how much I have to do a little test run with it, I might jump around to a couple of different biomes. But the only problem with that is obviously the rover won't be joining us, so it'd be purely down to soil samples. But soil samples are 120. So that's a lot of science for those. There we go. Do a little bit more of a burn. It's so desolate on the moon. That's one of the things I noticed when driving around it. There we go, so we reshaped it, and as you can see, that dark grey area is between, and we're landing on the middle lighter area of those two. That is basically between two biomes. So it should be relatively flat there. Because that's one thing you've got to be careful in the MUN, is there's a lot of craters, there's a lot of holes, so you've got to be extremely careful. So now all we're going to do is, I probably will start to do a jump cut in a second. Put the landing gear down. Now, the reason why I put landing gear on the rover is, not landing gear, the landing struts. The reason why I put those on there was sometimes it might not drop properly and it might damage the front of the craft. So I put those landing struts on there just at an angle as well to try and pivot it away. Problem is I leave SES on. So basically the stability control just holds it there and then just bounces back and forward. But still looks funny, because I use it as like hugging arms. So here we go, we're continuing our descent now to the MUN. This is exciting times. I've never landed a craft like this on the MUN. Well, actually this is the second run of landing a craft on the MUN. Okay, fair enough, good point. So here we go. You can see our shadow there down in the right hand corner, the bottom right. So now what we're going to do is we're pointing this retrograde, and what we need to do is bleed off all our horizontal speed. So that's what we're doing now. We're bleeding off as much as we can. I changed the stability control because we might be coming over to too close to that crater on the left. So I start to readjust my course, just so we don't go that way. Because obviously, if we land in the crater, there might be issues with landing in the craters because, well, of sloping sides. So that's why we want to try and get this as close as possible. But as you can see, we have now bled off all our horizontal speed. Well, the majority, we're at 9.17 meters a second. So as our retrograde comes up, we are just going to fall vertically now to the ground. And we're going to do some slow burns in a second, just to slow ourselves down even further. Now you'll probably notice here I'm not planning on bringing the rockets back. It's basically just going to be the crew capsule. Because as you know, when we did the nuts, we had huge problems bringing other bits and pieces back with us. So we're just going to leave it as that. And then obviously I've tested it so it's fine with that stuff. There we go. Nice slow burn. Obviously I could have done a suicide burn, but obviously I am still very much a novice on Kerbal Space Program. So as we go slowly down, sometimes this must look boring to watch, but it is quite exciting to do. If you haven't got Kerbal Space Program, you should definitely get it. Oh, I overburnt it then. There we go. And now I'm not paying attention. 6.4, that's a little heavier of a landing than I would like, but luckily those landing struts took it all in its stride. But guess what, guys? We have landed on the MUN. We have landed. That is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So now here comes the point where we drop our little rover. I didn't drop the landing struts, but as you can see, this is what SAS does. Keep it balanced up like that. Now, this is where it gets a little funny, because I sort of landed it incorrectly. As you can see, and now I'm trying to drive it out, and I'm driving in the wrong direction. I should be reversing at this point. Luckily, I've not got enough mass to damage anything, and that's the SAS kicking in, which is something I turn off on the probe. On the rover, I should say. Oh, do I go out that way, did I? Oh, I went out that way. But as you can see, it's quite a nice little rover, so I go around, and I'm just opening up things. Obviously, I should have deployed the antenna there without clipping through it like that. But there we go, we turn the reaction wheels onto SAS when that's on, because obviously it controls it a bit too steeply. And then that's it. The rover's had its little checks done. And even so from here, it's still got a direct connection to the MUN, but it hasn't got too strong antennas because that one's not folded. But I suppose the inline cabin and the Probodyne has enough transmitting power between the two of them. But now, as soon as we put this up, bang! See how it goes straight up? But now what we're going to do is we are going to get Trina, and she is going to be the first Kerbal to land on the moon. So, one giant leap, and this is one giant leap for Kerbal kind. And there she goes. Brilliant. Look at that, she's loving it. Bit unusual gravity here, isn't it? It's a lot lighter than the Earth. I bet she's looking forward to weighing her weight in stone and pounds. And there we go. Excellent. And yep, that's it. Come on over, scientist. So that is our lady who's going to be driving around on the surface. And there we go. We're almost at the end of the episode here. We're going to leave it up here in a minute. But we've got to plant that flag. Oh, look at that. There's the Kerbal in the distance there on the top right-hand corner. Excellent. That's it. Come on over. Come and plant the flag. There we are, planting the flag. And what we're going to put on here? To all Kerbal kind. Excellent. Or do I just leave it like that? We go boldly into the unknown. Okay. Interesting words are chosen there. Now, line up for a nice shot, because I put this on my Twitter, so make sure if you want to see certain pictures like this. And there we go. We are there. We are on the MUN. And that is basically the end of the episode, guys. Now, obviously, in between episodes, I'm going to take the scientists out, and there is going to be a video. It's just going to be a quick little time-lapse video of us driving to different biomes. It took us a long time, and there is the rover giving you a hug goodbye. Other than that, guys, if you liked the video, please leave a like. I don't usually ask that, but never mind. Other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Other than that, guys, bye!